Applying for jobs online, but not hearing back. Well, that may be due to companies' increasing use of artificial intelligence recruitment tools. Experts say advances in automated software and algorithms are changing the employment landscape. So how can applicants better compete? Laura Michelle Davis is joining me to discuss. She's the editor for CNET. Thanks for joining us. So I know, us talking about AI is brand new, but I don't think AI used in recruitment is actually new. The tools may be evolving, but I have a good friend who's kind of high up in a company that does a lot of hiring, and he loves it because he loves the idea that he only has to meet face to face with 2 candidates, and then he lets AI figure out the 30 other candidates that applied for it. And when he talked to me about that, I thought, I can see problems here, big problems. So can you walk us through how AI is changing recruitment and hiring? And what is the applicant tracking system?
Sure, yeah. Thank you for having me. Artificial intelligence has been around for a long time and it has been used in the hiring and recruitment process. I think the difference is with the pandemic, we saw the expansion of remote work. Also, the more job applicants there are and the more candidates there are seeking work, the more that there's going to be a bigger pool of applicants, and hiring managers and recruiters are going to need to rely on certain tools to be able to streamline the hiring process. So basically, AI is being used for nearly every stage of the hiring process, from sourcing to screening to interviewing to decision making. And it's using some software, algorithm-based software, machine learning, or predictive technology to be able to scan candidates. This is particularly the case with high volume or high velocity recruiting. The main issue is how it's changing the game for job seekers, right? Because a lot of this technology is a black box to them. They don't really know, as a job seeker, how they're being evaluated, how they're being assessed, or even that an applicant tracking system is evaluating them. Mm-hmm. That applicant tracking system is automated. So it's basically going to save the recruiter time by scanning a resume and giving a potential keyword match. And so what a lot of job seekers don't know is that your initial resume, the first stage of the process, your initial resume has to make it through the ATS. First, it has to make it through the ATS, and then it has to score high on that applicant tracking system. Mm-hmm. And there are some tricks that a lot of candidates don't yet know about, but that are out there.
Okay, I want to actually get right into that because I don't want to
Sure.
run out of time with you. So let's talk about some of the things that job seekers can do to make sure that their application at least gets past the AI algorithms and hopefully eventually gets in front of human eyes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first thing is that in terms of formatting, your resume actually has to be able to be parsed by a machine. So that means PDFs are actually not ideal in most circumstances. Unlike the prior days where you had a fancy font or fancy graphics, actually those kind of things can be misread or misinterpreted by the resume robot. And so what you want to do is have it be as simple as possible. The next stage is to make sure that you have a keyword match. Each job application has specific qualifications and requirements for that particular position. So you have to tailor your resume for that particular role. You can't just throw out a resume for every single role. You actually have to optimize it through the ATS. So what these resume scanners, or they're also called keyword simulators, do is they mimic an ATS by allowing you to scan your resume and give you a score at the end. And basically what you're looking for is like a 70% match. I would say that most people who try the software for the first time get 30 to 40%, which is pretty common.
Wow.
And so a lot of the tools out there allow you to then edit, expand your keywords, try to get more matching criteria. And there's also a lot of tools that will actually help you craft your resume, craft your cover letter using AI. Of course, the main thing with that is you need to be you and actually use the real element, what your qualifications are, and finesse that for yourself. You don't want to come off as a robot, and you certainly don't want to try to trick the tech or add qualifications that aren't really accurate.
Mm-hmm. Really quickly, AI, some people love it, some people hate it. Is there a possibility that it's actually a good thing, that it could sort of level the playing field and eliminate biases that may turn up in the recruiting process? I know I believe the state of New York, or maybe the city of New York, passed a law kind of compelling recruiters or organizations to sort of check their algorithms on a regular basis to make sure that there are no biases embedded in them?
That's a extremely controversial topic right now. I mean,
Mm.
what artificial intelligence across the board is posing all these ethical concerns about privacy and transparency, accountability, and bias. And the whole point about kind of trying to get under the hood and see this black box is because there's not universal regulation right now. There's not universal guardrails. A lot of the vendors who are providing this software, they're responsible for doing self-auditing. That doesn't necessarily help candidates in terms of knowing what they're being evaluated on.
Hmm.
Also, if it's deeper in the interview process and you're talking about automated technology being used to scan facial characteristics, that automatically comes with bias in terms of potential non-native speakers, evaluating speech recognition patterns, or anyone who's neurodivergent. So there's a lot of potential for bias. Bias has always existed in the hiring process. And while they say that it is this kind of technology is reducing bias, there's quite a bit of controversy around that and debate.
So interesting. Laura Michelle Davis, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.